explore transformative collaborations that are propelling our entrepreneurial landscape. It is my honor to introduce one of the most remarkable professors and mentors I have the privilege to work with during my university studies. He has not only inspired countless minds and souls, but has dedicated his career to shaping future Christian business leaders. His expertise and passion have made a significant impact on many of us. Today, he will walk us through the evolution of Romania's ecosystem and the critical role of education and innovation. Please give a warm welcome to Professor Dr. Sebastian Vodova.
Testing. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much, Josefina, for those kind words. It is wonderful to see former students who are doing what they've been trained for. I, too, want to say welcome to Romania to everybody. And fortunately, this session, I'm not by myself. As you can tell, I have partners in crime. So in order to make this easier on me, I would like to invite the panel speakers to come and join me here. There's 4 seats here. And I have specially, ask them to introduce themselves later on. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to have about 20 or 30 minutes of theory. That's just a professional defect. I apologize. Then we're going to get into some practice, and they are my case studies. They are very successful Romanian entrepreneurs and community leaders who are going to be talking about their experience. And towards the end, we want to leave at least 20 or 30 minutes for question and answers. So there's going to be time for you to interact. Please send your questions in the applications. If you're not familiar with the application, see whether you have a mic and get close to it. So come on, I will ask my panelists to speak, to come up and join me. Daniel Lar, Alin Merkesh, Rodica Baciu, and Aura Batamaniu. Come on, let's give them an encouragement, guys. Come on. Please, have a seat. While they get settled in, I have to tell you a real story, which is kind of like my nightmare in teaching. This was about 20 years ago. I was in my first year of teaching at the University of Akron, and I sort of lost the bet. And I ended up teaching a class that would start at 8:45 at night. Okay, this was an MBA level class in marketing, and people who were in the class were all executives from Goodyear Corporation who were coming to get a business degree. And I was there doing my thing, but I mean, you imagine, 8:45 at night, these guys were working all day long, and they would come into my class. And there was one guy who was especially tired every single time he came in, and he would sort of sit by the wall, and I'm like, I hope he never falls asleep. I hope to God he doesn't fall asleep. Well, before long, he fell asleep. So I'm there doing my marketing class, and not only does he fall asleep, but he starts snoring. He's sort of doing this, and I'm trying to keep the class alive. Finally, he's bothering me with his snoring. So I look at his colleague, I'm like, do you mind waking him up? And this guy, without missing a beat, Dr. Vodova, you put him to sleep, you wake him up. So I hope that's not going to happen to me this afternoon, where some of you are going to fall asleep. Okay, we prepared, like I said, the theory and a very impressive panel. So let's get into the topic that we have for today. And the first question that I think we have to ask is, what is innovation? What is innovation? I put in there some of the synonyms, and there's also a Harvard Business Review article that I'm going to be alluding to in terms of innovation. I think beyond a shadow of a doubt, all of us know that we must practice innovation. We must foster it in our organizations, in our ecosystems. In a sense, it's creativity, it's problem solving, novelty, invention, modernization, improvement, advancements. I want to state what innovation is not. Innovation is not criticism. I see lots of people who think they're very innovative, very creative, just because they can point out to what doesn't work. They're very, very good. They think that their spiritual gift is criticism. That's not innovation. Just because somebody sees what doesn't work does not necessarily mean that they are innovative. Innovation has to do with problem solving, and that's the word that I use most often. If you look at the article from Harvard Business Review, it's a combination between creativity, trying something new, and discipline. So don't miss that. You cannot have innovation without the discipline part. The other very important piece in innovation is you must have a catalyst. You must have a person. You must have a process, but at the same time, you must have a person that makes sure that things are moving along, that fosters innovation, that ensures collaboration and communication. And these are going to be some of the topics that we'll talk about and some of the topics that we'll come back to again this afternoon. Because I think it is very, very important for some of us here in the room to learn how to foster innovation, how to foster communication and collaboration. And I cannot stress this enough. It's not sufficient to put people together. Just the mere fact that you have a group of individuals together does not mean that they're going to do something constructive. Quite the opposite. Oftentimes, they will do troublesome things. So it takes somebody to be the catalyst, somebody to work in this direction. I'm not going to get into this, but these are some of the global challenges that require innovation. And I think that we as Christians need to have a word in the global challenges that we're faced with. This morning's sessions alluded to this. We're having challenges in demography. Within the next 20 or 30 years, the global population is poised to be 10 billion people. I repeat, 10 billion people. A majority of them are going to be in Asia and in Africa. Not in Europe, not in North America. These people are going to need education. They're going to need social services. They're going to need the gospel. So we certainly have our work cut out ahead of us. We're having significant ecological challenges, and we're already seeing that. We're seeing the troubles that we're having with global warming, with the weather patterns. Democracy, 2024, probably half of the globe is going to be voting. And we're seeing a lot of the traditional democracies, a lot of places that we thought were secured that are sort of sliding towards something else. As Christians, we must have a word to say in the public sphere, in the agora. What's going on? Who do we vote for? Who are the public administrators? The scriptures is full of examples of individuals who are involved in this. Here's a challenge that I want to give to you, and we normally do this with the first year students. Look at Hebrews 11. And see which are the professions most often found in the men and women that were used by God. And you're going to see that the majority of them were entrepreneurs. The second profession that you find there are public administrators. It wasn't necessarily theologians or pastors. Now, nothing against theologians, nothing against pastors. We love them. But God uses entrepreneurs to solve some of these issues. And technology. Two of the gentlemen that we have here on stage are technology executives, technology entrepreneurs, and you cannot talk about innovation without talking about technology. But what's going to happen? We're going to talk about artificial intelligence. We're going to talk about all the scary stuff, the bioinformatics, human cloning. Are we going to get to that? I think that within the next 20 years, these are going to be challenges that will require a response from us. And as Christians, we cannot afford to hide our heads in the sand and say, well, something will happen. I think we need to be active in there, in shaping the things that are happening. They say that a picture is worth 1,000 words. So I just want to throw that up there for you. This was put up by the World Economic Forum in terms of the skills required for the 21st century. And this is very, very important. And again, I'm going to piggyback on what the presenters said this morning. Oftentimes, the people of this world, the secular world, seems to be wiser than us as Christians. Because take a look at the skills that they're talking about. Historically, when we talked about education, we just sort of looked at the first column. Let's teach people how to read and write, how to do some arithmetics, and that's sufficient. And I agree, we do need to teach people how to read and write, but it takes a lot more than that. Take a look at the second column. The second column has to do with the competencies. They have to do with the ability to collaborate, the ability to work together, the ability to come up with solutions. And very interestingly, the third column, and again, this is from a secular organization, and I don't necessarily agree with everything that the World Economic Forum stands for, but they're the ones talking of the need of character. And it's so interesting that oftentimes we as Christians, we're sort of shy about that. We're embarrassed. Well, we're not going to talk about the fact that we're for ethics. Well, we're not going to talk about the fact that we value human lives. You know, we don't want to be perceived as something. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you that the secular world needs our message. Needs our message. Look, they're talking about character training. Teach the kids. Teach the executives. And we have a tremendous opportunity to educate. I want to spend a little bit of time on this slide because I don't want to dive into the Harvard studies or the World Economic Studies and skip over the scriptures. As a deeply committed Christian, I love it when modern science kind of validates what the scripture's been telling us all about. So when you look at innovation and education, when you look at development, ladies and gentlemen, we have the recipes in the scriptures. I recommend that you go back to the Old Testament and you see how it is done right. So come back with me, please, to the time that Moses took the Israelites out of Egypt. I mean, we're talking about 2.5 million of slaves. They're in the wilderness. I mean, they got nothing, right? And Moses is trying to develop this nation. And interestingly, he has a unique consultant, his father-in-law. Jethro comes to him, and in Exodus chapter 18, he says, Moses, what you're doing here is not going to work. You need to think about setting up a structure, setting up a system. So I'd like to draw your attentions to the 3 major systems that the Bible talked about, which will ensure that you get the innovation, the education necessary. The first one is the Sabbath. I don't know if you realize how unusual it was in the ancient world where people were toiling, where people were slaves day and night, I mean, without stopping, without any kind of holidays. The fact that God said, you must set aside one day where you're going to rest. Now, when we talk about Sabbath, most of us, especially the Romanians, we're thinking endless choir practice. You know, we're thinking about, hour of prayer and, we're going to have hosted this. Yes, there was certainly a worship part, a religious part to the Sabbath, but there was also the aspect of slowing down, of taking care of your intellect, taking care of your community, spend time with people. And look at that, set time aside for communication and collaboration. Figure out what your neighbor is doing, how they're planting their crops. Ask, about the yields that they got from their fields. There was a special time set aside every single week. And you were forbidden from working. You were supposed to rest. You were supposed to recharge your batteries. You were supposed to be thinking of the spiritual stuff and the intellectual stuff. The second instrument that we find in the Old Testament in terms of developing was through the Levites. Now, I love these guys. I don't know if you realize it, in an agricultural settings, when we needed every single able body out in the field to work, God says, take an entire tribe, and they're not going to have any land, and they're not going to work the fields. So what, the Levites are encouraged to be lazy? What's their purpose? Well, the Levites were supposed to take care of the soul and the mind. They were consecrated people that were going to make investment in stuff that really matters. And then if you take a look at the way things have developed, before long, the entire nation of Israel learned how to read and write. I don't know if you realize how incredible that was in the ancient world. They have farmers that know how to read and write, not necessarily read the hieroglyphics. I mean, this was incredible. Before long, they were starting to do accounting. I don't know if you realize, but many of the Jewish rabbis were doubling for accountants. If you look in the New Testament, there was a particular rabbi, a Pharisee, that God used to share the gospel. And when he wrote the book of Romans, St. Paul used a lot of accounting principles, a lot of accounting ideas. Our salvation was something that we borrowed, that we received as a free gift from the Lord. And our sins were being placed upon Jesus Christ. Those are all accounting terms. So Paul knew accounting. These Levites that were set aside by the law were meant to take care of the spiritual and the intellectual needs of the people. To this day, the Jewish nation is by far ahead of just about everybody else in terms of intellect, in terms of wealth creation, in terms of development. Why? Because they have it in their DNA. Because they love to read. Because they love to do mathematics. They love to do economics. They love to do research. Because they have that. And we as Christians have the same heritage. I love it. Number 3, the school. You know, Moses, when he needed to develop this nation, Jethro told him, you need to set yourself aside a school. And in this school, you're going to have to do the following things. First, you got to write some textbooks. I don't know if you realize this, but the first 5 books of the Bible were textbooks. You know, they were studying history, they were studying the law, everything was written down. And this was a stark contrast to subjective whims of the priests and the kings and all these other people that were just changing their minds. Moses receives the law from the Lord and he writes it down and it stays there, and it's there to this day. An objective body of literature. Interestingly, when St. Paul sets up to spread the gospel among the Gentiles, what does he do? Same thing that Moses did. He starts writing epistles. You realize that what we read every single Sunday on church and in our devotional time are the textbooks that Moses and Paul and others writers were writing down. You must have an objective body of literature, but even more so, and this is something that the ladies and the gentlemen that are next to me are going to talk about, it is about disciple making. So when you talk about education, education is about making disciples. Moses started this school. Remember the 12 people that he ended up sending as spy into Canaan? Later on, Samuel does the same thing, the school of the prophets. So most of the prophets in the Old Testament were graduates of Samuel's school. King David was discipled by Samuel. He had the fearing of the Lord because he benefited from the mentoring ministry of Samuel. Later on, Daniel, when he's in Babylon, he does the same thing. He has an accountability group with his friends. Later on, Paul, when he spreads the gospel, he starts the school of Corinth. Obviously, the best example is our Lord Jesus Christ. When he talks about salvation, salvation is in terms of making disciples. And that's the Great Commission. Make disciples. Go to the ends of the world, of the earth, and make disciples. Even us, coming from the Protestant Reformation, when Martin Luther received from the Lord to translate the scriptures in the 16th century, he started making disciples. He established university. So we have this tremendous heritage of innovation and education. And as we look at the challenges that we're facing, as we look at the things moving forward, well, what are we going to do? Probably some of the same things. In preparation for this meeting, we've sort of done an evaluation of the Romanian ecosystem. I'm very, very afraid because the room is full of Romanians. So any kind of statistic that I'm going to say, it's going to be probably challenged by some of you. So this is not scientific. This was not peer-reviewed, so I apologize for that. We even printed this report in a few copies. So those of you who are traditionalists, you can have a printed copy. For the rest of you, it is in your application, so you can download it. And what we wanted to do is just sort of go through what has happened in Romania over the last 35 years or so. Now, again, as Ruben said this morning, Christianity came to these regions 2,000 years ago. Tradition has it that St. Andrews was the first apostle that came here, was the first missionary, in a sense established the Orthodox Church. In the 14th and the 15th centuries, Romanians were instrumental in the fight against the Ottomans. Then in Transylvania, which is the western part, we had after the 16th and the 17th century some of the elements coming from the Protestant Reformation. Late 19th century and into the 20th century, we have the establishment of the evangelical movement that we have today. And by and large, we have the Pentecostal, which is the most numerous group of evangelical Christians, the Baptists, the Brethren, and then we have the Seventh-day Adventists. We also have a few of the Reformed movement within the Orthodox Church, the Lord's Army. And as we know, the ones that lived in Romania, starting with the 1940s, when the pro-Nazi regime started persecuting Christianity, evangelical Christians were persecuted. We had 40 years of atheism. We were told that God doesn't exist. We were told that if you're a Christian, you must be one of those backwards people. We were prohibited from taking a public office, running for politics. We were discouraged from being educated. But then something happened in 1989, and if you study the revolution of 1989, it had a very significant religious undertone. Those of you who are a little bit older and maybe saw it on TV, remember the chant that was in the Romanian Revolution? Există Dumnezeu. There is God. God exists. Which is a very unusual chant for anybody going through a revolution. Typically it's down the dictator, typically it's freedom, liberty. In Romania, people were praying the Lord's Prayer and they were chanting, there is God. So certainly in the 1990s, we as an evangelical community, as Christian community, we visited, we were revitalized. So today we have about 5,000 or so evangelical churches, and I know that number is a little off. We have a number of schools. That was one of the things that we've really invested in. By my calculations, we have about 50 schools, a lot of high schools. We call them denominational high schools. Then we have some kindergartens. We have some universities and training programs. Probably, and Aura can tell us more here, we have over 200 NGOs, maybe even more than that. And by my calculations, I think we have close to 10,000 Christian-owned businesses in Romania, maybe even more than that. Now, one of the reasons why it's so difficult for us is because in 2007, Romania joined the European Union, and about, I don't know, a third or 25% of our country started migrating. So we're a population of 20 million. This is true of Romania, Moldova, about 3 million people. However, about a third moves back and forth between Romania and the European Union. The nice thing about it is that many of the people that left for Western Europe, they established churches there. So they became missionaries. So one of the things that this report has are the organizations that are supporting specifically Christian business activities. So if you have a chance, please download it and take a look at it. You also have phone numbers there so you can connect with the people directly. If you want to learn from their experiences, if you want to share some of your experiences and be an encouragement to them, please feel free to do that. So what have been some of the accomplishments? I think the number one accomplishment was financial sustainability. Through God's grace, things have really reversed. So I personally remember coming back to Romania. I came back the first time in 1995. I lived in America. And back then, almost all the Christian activity was sponsored by the West. People from the US, people from UK, Switzerland, Sweden, and we're very grateful. God bless everybody who came and made an investment. But the good news is that today, I would say the majority of Christian activity in Romania is financed by Romanian efforts, certainly more than 50%. So thank you very much, Grant. I think that is certainly an accomplishment, and to God be the glory. To God be the glory. Our own university experienced this. Some of the people who are generous are in this room who are really, really supporting that. The second thing that happened is we had a lot of involvement in the secular world. So we have a number of Christians who are in academia. We have a number of Christians who are in healthcare. We have a number of Christians who are involved in public administration, public politics, and you're going to hear more about that. So really, we have gotten into the point where the Christians are becoming salt and light. I think I have 2 more minutes. So I'm going to close with this slide. What are the challenges for our ecosystem? And this slide is primarily for my Romanian brothers and sisters. And again, this is my personal opinion, so please don't hold it against me. I have a specific vision, and my specific vision is for us to prepare for a specific date, 16th of December, 2029. You know what's going to happen in 16th of December, 2029? If the Lord doesn't come, we will celebrate exactly 40 years from the revolution of 1989. And if I look back to the Old Testament, the time of the wilderness is going to be over. We're going to enter Canaan. So the time of transition is going to be behind us, and we will be able to make an impact. So I think that the first challenge will be for us to keep doing what we're doing. So I want to say congratulations to Ruben, to all the other people that are doing tremendous work throughout the country. God bless you guys. Keep it up. Keep it up and do more of it. Do it boldly. Don't hold back. We have to consolidate and we have to scale. Number 2, I think that we really have to collaborate with the Romanian diaspora. Personally, I have a prayer, and I'm praying that 10% of them are going to return back to Romania. So if there's 5 million, I would love to have about 500,000 coming back to Romania if we can. And I would love them to be entrepreneurial. I would love them to be with good work ethics and preferably with some capital. So if we can mobilize 10% of our diaspora to come back, and this is one advice that I give to everybody, I think most developed nations have a sizable diaspora outside. If you can somehow mobilize them, if you can somehow get them to invest back. They don't all have to return. I think 90% of them are not going to come back to Romania. And that's okay. I think they can be missionaries there and they can do good work. And I think our challenge will be for us to continue collaborating with them. Number 3, I think that it is time for us to really take advantage of our geographic location. You do realize that Romania is right on the edge of the 1040 window. And for those of you who do not know it, in missions, we call that kind of like the darkest part. That's the, you have the North Africa, you have the Middle East, South Asia, some of the trouble spots. And I do believe that the challenge for us as an ecosystem is to expand there. First, as businesses. The first missionaries that came to Romania in the 16th and the 17th centuries were the Moravians, the German Moravians that came here as tradesmen that were working in Sibiu or working in Brașov, and they brought the gospel with them. I think that following that model into the 21st century, we can do something similar. And I do believe that we have to be careful of becoming nominal Christians. I think that's the big danger. The big danger, and if you look at Christianity, every time that we lost our way, it wasn't necessarily because something from outside happened. It was typically something from inside. It was an implosion. It was some sort of infighting. So my prayer is that that's not going to happen. So that was my theoretical presentation, and I'm going to stop here. And I will not give you the opportunity to ask questions yet because I want you to reserve the questions for our distinguished panel. What I'm going to do is I will invite every one of our panelists to introduce themselves. And I will reserve the right, if they don't say enough about themselves, for me to jump in. Because they tend to be humble. In Romanian, we have this saying, do you have a glass of water? Because I'm so hungry, I have no place to sleep tonight. So we ask things kind of like in a by-the-way kind of a situation. If they talk like that, stop them, okay? They are a wealth of information, and especially my good friend Daniel, we're going to start off with him, okay? So the first question that I have for them, and they each have about 3 or 5 minutes to present themselves, their ministry, their work, their involvement, just so you know the kind of work that they do. And then when time will come for questions, we can do that. Daniel, take it away.
Well, thank you. Great to be here. I'll try to make a quick intro just to tell a bit of my story.
Please.
I'm one of the Romanians that decided to stay in Romania and not immigrate outside of Romania, and that's because I had American mentors who told me to do that. So I got hired in the first Western software company in the city. And long story short, that was more than 25 years ago. Currently, that company has gone through 2 acquisitions. I've run it for many years. And the group that we're part of now is also doing acquisitions outside. So now I'm responsible for a portfolio of companies in Romania and Eastern Europe for our home group, which is Constellation Software Canada and Topicus. So that's one thing. Secondly, 12 years ago, a friend from church came to me asking for money for an investment. And then, long story short, I became the co-founder of Salad Box together with Danny Sai, who was looking for somebody to partner with him so he could start the business. Also something which I think it's okay if I say it, I'm also a co-pastor in a church. It's a longer story, but more than 15 years ago, God called us to be part of a church startup in the city, looking to be an urban missional center in the city. So that has been a great blessing and also a challenge to do besides the other things. And then last but not least, 7 years ago, together with Ruben, we had on our heart to start Guild. And that has been an incredible journey because what we felt is that God calls us to serve not just people in the countryside, but because the population is becoming much more urban in Romania, we felt God calls us to be present in the city and love and serve the business people, and then through serving them to have a base on which we can also invite them to know Christ and to invite them to faith. So basically it's 4 roles, basically investor for a listed company, investor in a Romanian company, co-pastor and co-founder at Guild, and very happy to be here and very happy to to see all of you here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. With your permission, I'm going to go sit over there so they can look at me and not turn their neck that way, and I will get to ask them questions. And then obviously when the Q&A time will come, I'll be running through the room with the mic. Aura, you're next.
Hello to everybody. Shalom. I like so much to greet you with this greeting of peace. And I am the founder of Star of Hope Romania organization, which was founded 25 years ago. And this organization mainly is focused on improve the quality of the life of the children who are in difficulties, including children with disabilities, their families, and community development. For me, it was a big challenge because I started my mission many years ago when I was a volunteer, and when Romania found out in '89 that we have had 250,000 children who are abandoned in institutions. And in that time, I got the challenge to go to work as volunteer. And I did my best. I did what I could do it. And I have been supported in this mission by an international organization called Star of Hope International. But then, as I said, 25 years ago, I got the challenge to start up Star of Hope Romania Foundation. I got in my account $10,000 and Aura, and you shall do it. You shall start up an organization, a civil society to fight for the rights of the children with special needs. After 20 years, with God's help, we managed to open more than 10 social services for these kids and to help more than 20,000 children to have a better life, and also their families. And we managed, with God's help, to develop the organization so we could help even more than 20,000 children who have come also from Ukraine during this period of time, you know better. And what I can say that with God's help, having just $10,000 in the account, we managed after 20 years to attract more than 20 millions of euro for the programs and help these children to grow. We have helped them to come out from the institutions. They have been adopted in the families, and now they became youth. And after 20 years, we got the challenge. What shall we do for these children? We have who became youth now, and they didn't have any chance to get a job or to get a future here in Romania. In these circumstances, I met a school called Focus Business School, which is a school for create a new mentality about work and to develop your entrepreneurship skills. So I became also the coordinator of this project for Focus Business School Romania, and we managed to help the youth to have a new vision for their life and also to become good employees, and not only good employees, but entrepreneurs.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I consider that this is a big challenge for Romania today, because now my heart is very much for empower the new generation. And I want to thank you so much to the business people who are here, and also thank you, Ruben and Corneliu and Sebastian, that you saw the potential we have to create together an ecosystem here in Romania so we can develop this new area for having new entrepreneurs in Romania. And especially, I am a coordinator for social economy, and I developed this new trend, which is also in the whole Europe, about how can we save this category of people who cannot enter into a normal job.
Thank you. As a clarifying note from Aura, and some of us Romanians know about this, European Union funds is a big issue in terms of the survival of a lot of NGOs and a lot of companies. So a lot of companies developed over the last 10, 20 years over that issue. So thank you so much. We'll come back to that issue, and you'll hopefully tell us more about it. Let's turn it over to Rodica. Rodica, please present yourself, your involvement in the community, involvement in business, the whole thing.
Thank you. Nice to be here. Nice to meet you, dear ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for invitation, Dr. Sebastian Vadova and Quilt, Marian and Oana, Ruben and Oana Marian. Innovation, it's a very important issue for me because innovation makes a lot of change in my life, and I will share with you some of them in a few minutes. I'm a wife, mother, sister-in-law, mother-in-law, and also grandmother, also daughter, because my parents are in life. Together with my husband, in the last 30 years, we created a successful business. This business has now 1,000 employees and impressive turnover.
Tell us the number.
350 million euro we closed last year. Praise God. And this is a result of innovation. I was born in Târgu Mureș, in a family with 4 children. I'm the eldest and a unique daughter. We live in block, in flats, and many people that time in my childhood was communist time, how can my parents to take care about 4 children? But we have very good parents, and they invest a lot in our education. Also, they planted the seeds of innovation when they took us every Sunday to the church. Also, these seeds continue to be planted, reading the Bible with parents, with grandmother at home. After 80 years old, I got married, and at 19 years old, I get my first child. I was a mother, a very young mother. And when my son was 4 months old, I started to study finance and business. During my studies, I gave birth to the second child, a daughter. And innovation started in my life when I tried to wear different hats and to change different roles, wife, mother, entrepreneur, during the difficult times when many people thought and talked that women should stay in kitchen and should only clean up the house. But God saved me through innovation.
Yeah, she deserves applause for that one. Come on.
Thank you. I get married with the best husband, a very special person with innovation, creativity, and vision. And he invests in our relationship and saw me as his business associate all the time. And we do a lot of things together, also growing children, but also growing a family business. And our first challenge was the budget, because we don't have money, that time existing no bank loans, and resource was very, very reduced. So we have no budget for the family, for business, as now exists. And it was a challenge when I go shopping, not to supermarket, that time was groceries, and to continue to calculate with few money to prepare a menu for the next few days for my husband, for my kids, to buy few eggs, a bottle of oil, and maybe 2 sausage and some potatoes. This was also an innovation and challenge time in our life, but in this time, we continued to study, and I finished my degree after university. I have a master's degree in financial management. Was necessary because from so low budget to can manage so much turnover was necessary to be educated. We discovered together with my husband a lot of business opportunities, and we put in practice what we learned in the school. And so we achieved that in 20 years we pay taxes over 102 million euro. So I think this is a proof of patriotism, and our objective was to continue to develop Romania through professionalism, ethics, and good results. What can I say?
Tell us about your community involvement, and especially what you're preparing now, your community involvement.
Our business was led after the motto, quality relationship, successful business. And we achieve a lot practicing good principles. Our next step, and this is a very, very big challenge and innovation step, is to be involved in city administration, to invest my talents that I got from God, and through this experience to put in service of citizen in Târgu Mureș. So I go for the city hall competition.
Thank you.
So please pray for me.
We wish you the best of luck. She's running for the mayor of Târgu Mureș. Okay, so thank you. Thank you. Aline, tell us about your story, please.
Hello. I dream of becoming so patriotic as Rodica to pay so many taxes. So, congrats. Well, I'm so blessed to be with so many brothers and sisters from around the world. I feel very blessed. I'm Aline, and I'm a serial entrepreneur. I started 25 years ago while I was in high school. I'm in technology and software businesses. And in the past, in all this journey, I started and co-founded, I don't know, probably more than 10 companies. And in all this path, 3 of them were acquired. So I have been involved in 3 exits so far. And in the past 10 years, after God showed me that there is more than managing businesses and being an entrepreneur, God showed me that I'm in another type of business. I'm in a business of souls, not numbers, not money, not technology. And why only after 10, 15 years, maybe you would ask? That's because when you're an ignorant, or maybe if you're an arrogant, or stupid, or foolish, like I was, then you're too close to hear God's voice. So in the past 10 years, I'm much more interested in mentoring others. I'm an anti-control freak. So I like to seek success in other people. I like to see people that they pay taxes. And if I can be a partner with you paying that many taxes, I'm very happy. I'm happy having partners that can run businesses, that can grow. And this is my passion now, to see Christian entrepreneurs living the real calling from God. And in my life, those were only theories. I mean, we have in the Bible, we know the theory, but actually I realized that when I worked it more, and I was more focused on the secular objectives. You know, we are talking about what's the turnover, how many followers do you have, what's the profit, if I'm in Forbes under 30, you know, those kind of things. And we Christians said, but they are good. Well, they are good, but they are very, very secondary. So if we have to chase something, I saw in the Bible that I have to chase souls for God, not for my purpose. And this is what gives me passion right now and what I am passionate about. So I hope to see many of you in this room or in Romania that are really going into what God calls you to do, and I want to do that for my life as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, let's give him a round of applause. I'm going to go to the second round of questions, and I'm going to start off with Daniel, given your experience with the IT sector of Romania. And again, please present the IT sector of Romania as a potential model for other developing nations. Tell us a little bit what happened over the last 20 years and your particular experience, because you really went, you know, the whole food chain, you know, from the bottom all the way to the top. You're a high-level executive. You're an entrepreneur, as I call you now. Tell us that experience and how it may be applied to other places like Pakistan or, you know, some of the African nations.
Thank you. Well, before going there, I need to say I did meet Sebastian roughly 10 years ago, I think,
Right.
through a common friend, Cristi Gazan, who's here.
Yep.
And even though we were both Christian, somehow we didn't cross paths until then. And then we had Sebastian as a consultant for the company, for Yonder. And also I went to do my master's in entrepreneurial management, which I never consider myself an entrepreneur, but I have a master's in it, okay? So, the story there is, you know, when I decided to stay in Romania roughly 30 years ago, Romania was seen as a cheap labor source where we were executing what others were telling us to do.
Tell us, what was the monthly salary for a person 30 years ago when
Oh
you
my,
started
yeah.
as an
I
executive?
think my monthly salary was under 100 euros, or, well, at that time it was guilders.
Deutschmark. It was Deutschmark.
Deutschmarks, yes. So I think I was doing like equivalent of 50 euro per month right now. And even then, me working part-time in my last year of university, I was making more money than my father, who was an accountant for 20 years before that.
Right.
So salaries were very low, margins were very high for a company. You can calculate that. But what's interesting is that we were seen initially as just a cheap labor source, basically. And I still remember, you know, we messed up a project, and I remember we were working overnight. We were getting our specifications by fax. There was no project management. The secretary was giving each one of us some pieces of printed papers from the fax machine to just fix something. And people were kind of telling us what we have to do in the code even to be able to do that. Now, I'll just tell you a story of a few weeks ago. I was at the European level leadership meeting with leaders in Europe in our software group. And one of my colleagues who runs the Nordics was presenting her report about how she understands technology for her portfolio, which is more than 10 companies. And that research and that advisory was actually made by Yonder in Romania for a whole group of companies which have, you know, more than, you know, 100 million revenue in total. And that was a very, should I say, proud moment for me, because here we are 30 years later, and there are Nordic companies which are basing their strategy on technology, and these are technology companies, okay? So they are not end users of technology, these are companies making software, and all these companies are basing their future strategy for the next years on the research and consulting that Yonder has done, which is the company, one of the companies I'm responsible for, the one in Romania. So now the question is, how did we get here? What happened in these 30 years? And you know, it's very hard to, you know, looking backwards, we have the chance of, you know, we're wiser than looking forward. But I think it started with a few key decisions, and for us at least, one of my leaders made the decision roughly 15 years ago that the Romanian business will not be a cost center working for other companies, but will be a profit center where we'll need to fight for projects, make a margin on the projects, sell ourselves. So actually what I started doing at some point in my career was to become the salesperson. Initially, we tried to have Western salespeople, but because what we do is so customized, because we build custom systems for software companies, we help them innovate their own products, it was very hard to even find good salespeople. So at one moment, the idea was, let's just send the Romanians abroad to explain themselves what they do and to sell their services. So that's what I did for maybe 10 years of my career, and also being responsible for one of the business units and then more of the business units. And I think it started with taking ownership, with the fact that we will have to make money, to make a margin, that we're not about taking orders, that nobody will be sending us work, that we will be looking for work. And now that company has more than 400 engineers here in Cluj and in Iași. That was one thing. Then I have to say, and I know you didn't ask me to say this and you are not going to be comfortable, Sebastian, but I have to say Sebastian had this idea for many years that Romania will be in a different position compared to our customers than we were in the past. So to start with the idea that we will be the experts in the room, that we will be consulting others. Actually, right now we have a pretty strong consulting division in the company, which is doing exactly that, going to customers, advising them on processes, on best practices, and also on strategy, because we can bring together technology and finance and hopefully communicate it well enough so they understand us. So what I can say, even though we're not as advanced, and I do appreciate the entrepreneurs who started building products and selling licenses, we're somewhere in between services and products. We actually sell productized services, we call them. But in essence, to me, it's extremely fulfilling to see that Romanians are able to manage, when we were acquired 17 years ago for the first time, I was the one who knew the financials and the contracts and other stuff. Now, the company is run by tens of managers who have the financial knowledge, who take business decisions, who negotiate with customers, and it's an extreme level of ownership here locally. It's a Romanian business run by Romanians who works for 100 companies each year, and some of them in the top Forbes 100, because we can deliver quality, and not just quality, we can actually advise and deliver strategy. So again, how did it happen?
Thank you.
I think ownership, decisions, proactiveness, good consultants, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. I love what West Wing says. They have a big thing on their history school, and they say the history that we teach here was made by those that we taught here. So I'm very proud of the things that you have done, along with a lot of other colleagues. Let's turn it over to Aura. And Aura is involved in the social aspect, alleviating poverty. Go back to education. This is your new emphasis now with the Focus Business School. Do you see education making a difference, transforming life, pulling people out of poverty? Talk to us a few minutes on that.
I was growing up with a family with 8 kids. And I remember that for my parents, it was a big struggle to send us to school. But they have believed that the education and the Christian values, they are the 2 pillars for the success for a person in life. So they did all the best to send all my brothers and sisters to school. And everyone now, they are in a position that they are becoming like leaders and they help the others. So I believe strongly that the education is the key for all this category of people who are in vulnerable situation. And not only, I don't talk about the formal education, because formal education is for everyone absolutely obligatory. So I believe that through the education, and when we talk about education, we talk about the support services for education. We need to give a chance for the others who are like 30% of the children in Romania today, they live under poverty. So we must not forget that we need to do something now about, because this will influence their future. And you mentioned in the beginning that Romania, we are also a proud people. We can be proud of our country and about our past, about our parents, about the Christian values. So when I say that we don't want to depend on the West funds, yes, we have took the funds from the West in the beginning when we're in need, to get more know-how, to get the support for the basic needs. When we didn't have food on the table, the basic needs was not covered. But today, we see there is a huge potential in Romania. So together, we can raise up this generation. So when we talk about social involvement and the role of the business people to work together in this ecosystem, it means that we have to invest and give a chance to every youth who has been in different difficulties, like I tell about now the Roma category, which is one which is excluded from our society. I talk about the persons with disabilities. Right. We have to create a system they can find job, and they also they can become independent. So that's why you mentioned, Sebastian, Focus Business School.
Right.
It comes to this point that we give the basic education for everyone to know to be a good administration, to be a good stewardship. And this is important for every person. Like, for instance, I will give you an example. One of the Roma leader community in Vaslui area, he was leader in the church. He had a big family and many poor families in the churches. And after he came to this basic education, financial education in our school, he went back. And you know what he did first? He learned to do not consume everything he win in 1 month. So he went back, he made savings together with his children. They managed to pay all the debts back. Because in Romania, there is also a culture that to borrow money.
I think all over the world is like that.
So we learn about don't borrow for make bad things or to consume. You just borrow to invest. To build up a future. Yes. So that's why I believe strongly in what you said about education, and it should be under different possibilities and opportunities. What I would like to add concerning the speaker in the morning, I liked so much the presentation when you said that Romania, it is so good in relationship. And I will tell you this, in this ecosystem, together with the NGOs and who have Christian values in our country, we have a big opportunity and a big potential to change Romania. So right now we are doing a map to see where is every organization active and what has been done for this category of people in the past, and what can we do today, and how can we work together with business people and also with the education representatives and to influence the government policy. And this is very, very important point, and I'm so happy that I have Rodica here, and I know also in the room we see Florica, Kerekesh, and other politicians like Robert Sigartău and Titus Corlățean, that now together we are at this level that we have Romania and our government is aware about the fact that they have no solution for change, for instance, the Roma attitude for the work. They have no solution to integrate, like the people who have addiction today. They don't know. They have no solution. So it's a new time for us. So I believe so much in the power of the word together.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
We pray for you on there. Let's stay in the educational field. And one of the verses that I use in education is 1 Corinthians 3:6, where Paul says, I planted, Apollo waters, but God makes it grow. So our job is not to make it grow, but to plant or water. So keep on planting, keep on watering. Rodica, you have significant experience within your own company, Materom, doing educational programs. At the corporate level, you did student internships. Obviously, you grew by investing in education. So tell us a little bit about that. How did it work?
Innovation is necessary for development, and for development are necessary to set objectives, smart objective. But to can set the correct objective, you need to be informed, to be educated. So we started to set objective very, very long time ago, when we manage a very low budget, as I already mentioned, 20-40 US for cooking, for family, taking care of the family. But that time we learned from the Bible, and we decided that it's a very, very important to pay the 10% for God work, for missionaries, for churches, and for other special things. Also, we saw that it's important in business, because business start to grow after this decision, managing responsible the budget. Starting the business to grow, so we understand that it's very important, it's key point to create a climate of harmony, respect, and to facilitate the development of each person in society. Employees are not robots, they are the most important resource, and we as business owners, entrepreneurs, we need to take care about this very, very important resource. And in first step, we understand that it's important to learn and to implement the biblical principles in business. Diligence, moral integrity, promotion of the people that have a good character. Capitalization of profit, also practice the prayer in company. Also to take decision when you have revelation and peace from the Holy Spirit. Also to develop good relationship with employees, with customers, and with suppliers. And this was a first kind of education that we attack. Then we understand we have to invest and to train our employees. And we train 100 people, and many of them remain in the company. But this is cost a lot of money, but bring more and more much results. So we invest in professional trainings. We have trainers in the company. And we never hire manager from outside. We decided to promote people that was in the company and they was tested, they want to grow, they want to learn more. So we invest about 10,000 euro for train people in sales and in supply chain. These are very important positions, and we have many colleagues in these departments, but cost enormous these trainings.
This is $10,000 euros per person.
Per person, yes,
yeah,
per
make
person.
Sure you clarify that. Yeah.
And also beside this training that happens, especially when they come in the company, we grow up a culture that continues to learn. And everyone teach his colleagues from his professional development experience. So managers learn new things and share with the team, and also every team member, it's not boring because they receive new and new tasks and new trainings. We have also the possibility to create space for internships for a lot of students. So university from our city chose us many years ago for a very important project, and more like 160 students come through a project to have a practice internship in our company. So this project was named Invest in People, and the objective was to ensure the sustainable development and cooperation between university and entrepreneurs. Also, we think that the main components, school, businesses and families should work together, not people leave the city and go abroad because they don't have opportunities in the city. So we organized this internship for 130 students, workshops, roundtable, visits, and also a big event. But this is not the only thing. We continue in our company to invest in software, in technology, and we help our people to understand the newest tools. So in 2006, we implement ERP from SAP, and this is a program that integrates all the process from giving an offer to sales, and every step from the business process is integrated in this software. And we continue to develop this software with the creativity of our employees. So we invest annually more like 500,000 euro in this kind of IT system. So this is also a key of progress.
This is music to the ear of all the techies. So,
Okay.
so let me move on to Alan and ask you, Alan, how do you see technology being utilized by the kingdom, whether it's in a nonprofit or whether it is in a company?
Yeah, I will tell you a short, funny story. How we started to digitalize some processes in our company. It was 12 years ago, and we had a team of software developers, and we didn't have any project management tools in place in our company. And we tried to implement those project management software. And we had some resistance from our project managers. And we asked our project manager, one of the guys, okay, if you don't want to use a project management tool, how do you know what tasks are on developers, or what to work? Do you know who has a work or who is not working? And he says, wow, that it's so simple. I asked him, how do you do? How do you know whatever they work for? And they said, if I'm on a chair, I'm standing up, I'm looking on the room, and I see who is working and who is not working. So the guys that are not working, I give them the work, and the guys that are already working, I don't give them any work. So that was our project management tools back then. Of course, since then we implemented a lot of technology, and this is what we do in our company. We try to help companies not to have this kind of approach, even though sometimes technology hinders us from creativity. For example, if we have to have a brainstorm session, or we have to have an analysis of some things, we try to block technology. For example, in our meetings, there were, I don't know if you're used to that, maybe you're better in this. In our meetings, people are, of course, going in the meetings with the mobile phones.
Right.
And while somebody is speaking, the other, sometimes they are just scrolling, they're just Instagramming. And we just said, okay, you just lost 4 times of people, or multiply by 30 minutes. And if we multiply by the time that we have to grab attention, we lose a lot of money. So sometimes technology, mobile phones, has to be turned off. Yep. So we try to turn that off. It's good to be bored sometimes. It's good to use notifications off. Mm-hmm. It's good to turn off our phones, especially while we sleep or while we try to sleep.
There you go.
So in what we have done in our company and in our clients, we try first to see the need, because it's not okay to implement innovation and technology just for the sake of it. Technology, in our opinion, is just a mean to something.
Right.
I mean, we are trying to talk to people, what are your objectives? If their objectives are just to reach people's souls, for example, we tell them, okay, maybe WhatsApp it's enough. Mm-hmm. Why do you need a financial system? I'm exaggerating here, but you know, I'm just trying to make a point here. And after we discuss and see the exact needs, then we try to implement the needs. For example, we had clients that in our sessions we told them not to pay us to build for them anything, because they don't need any system. So they thank us that we saved them a few bucks, because we don't have to work for them. They didn't need that.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I want to give the audience the opportunity to ask questions. And on a personal note, thank you for nobody falling asleep. I haven't heard anybody snoring, so this is an accomplishment. I'm going to give each one of the speakers, the presenters, the opportunity to close with a 3-minute remark after you ask your questions. But before we do that, I know there's a big topic of artificial intelligence in many of our minds. Maybe some of you are experts, but maybe you're not. So I will ask Daniel Lahr to give us his 30-second pitch for artificial intelligence. Is this going to replace us? Is this going to scare us? I mean, are we going to see a new Bible being written as an expert, you know, staying in this realm? In the meantime, please prepare your questions. And if you have questions for myself or for the audience, either send it through the application, or I can come around with the microphone, or somebody can do that. So Daniel, tell us about artificial intelligence. Is that something we should be scared of?
I would say yes and no, and I would just try to make it very simple. You asked for 30 seconds, going to be hard, but you know, we should ask ChatGPT for 30 seconds. Well, there are two dangers here. I think to underestimate the impact and to overestimate, or to have too high expectations from AI. Now, to underestimate, I think, you know, I'm a software guy. What software has done is to digitize real processes in the world. And there's a famous guy, Mark Anderson, who said, software is eating the world. Well, if software has been eating the world, which is to digitize processes in the real world, actually what artificial intelligence is also doing is to automate even writing software development. Even writing the code is being automated now. And we already see the impact of that in different types of roles in the IT industry. So I do believe the same thing that automation has done for manual labor, AI will be doing for intellectual labor. And somebody said, AI will not be replacing humans, but a human using AI will be replacing a human not using AI, in the same way that somebody who is using now a truck to carry dirt from here to there will be replacing somebody who's just using a wheelbarrow to carry dirt from here to there. Yeah. So that's one thing. Secondly, what is the risk of AI? I think we already see it very much in social media, because AI will be helping us think faster, but should not be helping us to make moral decisions. And I think when we delegate to a machine moral decisions, this is, you know, what the devil tried to do with a man, to let him decide, well, not decide himself, but to delegate or submit himself to somebody else, not to God. So I think when people expect perfection or accurate information from AI, there's no accurate information 100% on AI, just to be clear. And I say it as a programmer, AI will not be giving perfect information. It's going to give you statistical information at best. And at worst, if the training data is not selected well, it's going to give you even wrong information sometimes. So I see it as a great tool, as long as it stays a tool. When we look up to it, it's going to be just like the social media is already doing, is trying to think for us, to give us what we want, to please us, to hook us into that. But I would say AI is not going to solve the problems of mankind. Jesus does that. But it can help us be more efficient in some things if we use it properly. And that is exactly like autonomous driving, for instance. You cannot fully rely on it all the time, though it might make driving easier sometimes.
Thank you. Thank you. That was very useful. All right, I'm opening it up to the audience. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your turn. either place a question in the application, or if you want to do it the old-fashioned way, we're right here. We have a microphone, so let's start with Grant.
Well, I'm not sure who it's for. I could direct it to Daniel, but I'm actually thinking I'd like to hear from Alan on it. But it's piggybacking on what Daniel said earlier about the Scandinavian peer in Constellation who needed Romanian software, and that was a very meaningful moment that something they were, the further west was dependent on something happening in Romania. And actually Daniel and I talked about the question the other night, that I also have a sense that Romania is going to have a strategic role in helping Western Europe in its own moral and political decline. And I guess even going back to this morning on this insecurity and things we felt that were coming the other way, I'm interested to hear what any of the panelists, but since I talked to Daniel, ask Alan first, to what extent that you think that that Romania might have an opportunity to have a prophetic role in the decline of Western Europe.
Well, you don't make me start it because I'm more patriotic than Rodica, sorry. Well, I totally agree with you. I do think that we have a role here. I thought this, and I don't want to sound arrogant, but 20 years ago I thought this. I dreamed that Americans will work for Romanians in software companies, and actually 1 month ago we have in the final, we had to choose between a Romanian and a US developer, and US developer won the contest because it was cheaper than the Romanian, so that expensive the Romanian programmers became. So
congratulations.
I don't know if it's a congratulation or not, but leaving the joke aside, but that is reality. I think we have a role in the how do we try to penetrate emerging markets. I think we are good at that. How can we thrive in difficult times? I mean, Romania have been through crisis after crisis after crisis in the past, I don't know, 50, 60 years, in the past 35 years. For example, when we hear that inflation was 12%, which for an American that it's huge, for us we just play games. We had 80% like 20 years ago, you know, and that makes you being more grit in that, make us more resilient. So I think in this regard we do have a role here, but we need much more courage. And we have to learn this from US, to be more courageous about this, to not having an orphan spirit, like Ruben said. I hate the orphan spirit. I don't think that we are the greatest nation in the world, but I think the Christians are the greatest nation in the world. And here in all this room, I think we can be heroes in our countries. So this is my stake on this.
Thank you very much. Yeah, don't get him started. Don't get him started. Thank you, Grant, for that question. Any other questions? Come on, don't be bashful, guys. Even from the Romanians. So Romanians can ask Romanians questions. So feel free. So this is not just for the foreigners asking questions. Come on. Please. This question is for your husband, right?
So it's a question related to my field. In the beginning, what was your greatest fear starting this journey, and what is your present fear? But it's not only for my husband. Okay, for Rodica, or who wants to share what was happening inside of you in this journey, in the beginning and now?
Rodica, do you want to take that question? So when you started Materom, what were you afraid of? What were you thinking? Now, what are you afraid of? What are you thinking?
So at that time was a big passion, a dream. Was also fear, but the passion and the dream was bigger as the fear. And fear was maybe not enough resource, maybe not enough money to do a business to grow. And this is, and maybe you are not the best people to do a project like this. And we have also to confront a lot of people that told us no chance, no chance. Because was no example before. Entrepreneurship was just at the beginning. Also was the challenge that the church voice that time was against the businesses. Because maybe you do a lot of business, you will go in hell. Because money means corruption, money means negative things. And was not fear, was more will to destroy this mentality. And maybe the fear was around maybe or not maybe possible this, to destroy these mentalities that was against our dream. Now it's the same. I'm in the same point. Again, a pioneer, because and I go back to the business. We saw more and more business as a mission field. You can meet there the people that you should make disciples. So Scripture sent us in mission, but where? Only in Africa or in other not Christian countries? A lot of people that no Christian or not practicant Christians was beside us. And we have to teach them not only Sunday morning in the church, every day in a business, being our employees, colleagues, being our customers or even suppliers. Because in business, because it's an interest, financial interest, people listen. Are a lot of meetings and you can share. The same in politics. Now, 30 years later, the same stories. You are a minorities. Christian people are not for politics, not for administration. There it's a lot of corruption. There it's a lot of negative things, different characters. I'm not afraid. Amen. But come a lot of things and questions. Why don't stay at your place? But who knows better as God, where is my place? The light should be in the darkness.
Amen.
And the light is a victory, not the darkness. I think that now we have all the knowledge, and this must put together with faith and to be a huge influence in Romania, in Europe, in the whole world, but also in the political area. Because we are called to be head. And where is head? It's my question. So, with these thoughts, I want to escape from every fear or every mentality of the past and to break all these kind of chains. And please pray for our country because corruption and all negative things should disappear.
Amen.
God bless Romania.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you. Let's give her a round for that one. We actually have a question, and I'm going to direct this to Aura. What methodology do you apply to be very practical and relevant in educational system? And how do the students respond? So let's give you a minute, not 30 seconds, but try to respond that. How do you make education very relevant, very practical?
I will just add quick
Please.
to what Rodica answered. When we started the organization 25 years ago, all the authority, they have threw it out us on the door. I felt so much fear, so much, I was so much afraid that I have this big challenge, and if the authorities will stop, what can I do? Right. I cannot develop anything. And today, after so many years, I can see that we are invited to stay at the same table. And today they are asking for our advices, the authorities locally and central authority also. And I will tell you that we have a big opportunity now. The Ministry of Family is now very much interesting to stay together with us to make a law for the family in Romania. And we are called, the organization, the Christian NGOs together, we can, and also the society, the churches, we can also work together for do this for Romania. So this is something that I see. It's not only opportunity for us, but if we create models like that, we will be a blessing for our nation. And finally, what I will let you from this discussion, I want to let you one very important thought. All my life, I have never neglected 10% from my income to go to Jesus, to go to the church. So never, we never forget about this principle. And my daughter is with me here in this room. And I asked her, what was the biggest help for you to succeed now to be a PhD doctor in economy? She said, what I learned from you, from our family since I was small girl, that never get something from you without doing a work. So let's teach our generation, the young children, don't give everything on the table. They should pay a price for everything they get. And also teach them these principles that 10% from our income every month must go to the church. So it is for God's kingdom. And then God will multiply that seed that we save it for his kingdom. So may God bless.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right. Yes, let's give her a round for that one. I think we have time for 2 more questions. Yes, we got one there in the back. Please. I'll run with the mic.
Thank you, and thanks so much again to our panelists. You guys are amazing, and I've got to spend a good lot of time with Daniel and Loredana in recent days, and we've had some fun conversations, and then hearing you all talk as well. One of the things that stands out is what you're talking from is not from a place where you've had a very easy beginning. You've come out of a place of hardship and struggle, and in the rest of the West, we get it a lot easier in many ways. And so where I'm heading is there's a question you've touched on, I think, a lot of the principles of, but I would love a working definition of this, because I believe we're at a hinge moment of history of which you guys have a very unique perspective on. And my question is this: the finish line of Jesus seems to be about discipling nations. At the stage you're at right now, how would you define what it means to disciple a nation? I think you've just got really unique insights into that. And is there a working definition that would be really helpful to us, given the perspective that you guys carry and where you're coming from, where you are, and where you know the Lord's calling you to go? Give it to Daniel? Okay, Daniel, you're my man.
Well, I also thank you for the question. I'll refer also to Grant's question because I think they might be related. When I was being a translator 30 years ago for Americans coming to Romania, what surprised me is that I was connecting very well with people who were 40 years older than myself because we had similar experiences. And what I mean by that, I grew up under communism, so to me, communism as a system, I had very strong convictions, and you can guess what they are, about communism. And we were just like the American generation after the Second World War, who have been, through the war and then went on the other side and built something. So from that perspective, I think we have the luxury of a bigger moral clarity in terms of what communism has meant, what we're supposed to do. Now, regarding what it means to disciple a nation, that's a tough one. And I have to say, I'm really inspired by my friends, Ruben, Emmanuel, others who have a bigger vision because, maybe to answer my wife's question, my biggest fear always was, am I good enough? Can I do something? Can we make a difference? And maybe that's why I didn't go into entrepreneurship myself, but I went in a corporation eventually. And I think what's happening now is that we start to see that what we're learning at the small scale can be scaled at the bigger scale. So to me, and somebody mentioned it before, I think we have to start small. We have to be faithful to where we are, because if I'm not discipling a person, I don't think I'm going to be discipling a nation. But if I'm faithful in discipling a person, in being accountable to other friends, in together discipling a group, together thinking about the good of a city, then I think we qualify in that sense, not that we deserve it, then we qualify to think larger. And I think in my life, it's always about this balance, and even to go deeper than discipling one person, I think to the level that I'm really intimate with Jesus, and I get my meaning and identity from Him, God, through the Holy Spirit, will give me the right attitude and hope, and not stay in my own personality, in my own worries, but really have His heart for the country, for the people. But to me, discipling a nation is just the next step, is if we're faithful where God put us, and if we're faithful, first of all, with Jesus, then with our wives, husbands, family, then with our friends and the disciples that God puts in our path, and then we start creating ecosystems, because what we started in Cluj with a small group with Ruben and with other friends, and now that has multiplied, and there's different gifts. I cannot disciple a nation on my own. It takes a team, it takes a vision, it takes the church, and when I say the church, it's not even the local church, but the Church of Romania, to be united in terms of discipling the nation. So, I don't think we're there, but I think God is calling us there, and it's great to have other voices in my life who are bigger on the vision thing than I am, to challenge me and to challenge each other on that. And I have to say, to finish with this, I start to see it, or I start to believe in it, but it's been a long road. And again, I think it's about being faithful in small things, and then God will be giving us bigger things. And it's such an honor, when God puts you in the path of somebody whose life is being changed by God, that's so honoring. That's to be part of that story. It's such an honor that God gives to us, to make us part of His ministry and His work in the world. And I think it's the same for the country. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you. Yeah, let's give him a round of applause. Come on, guys. Let's not fall asleep here. All right, last question for our panel. In the meantime, they're thinking of their 30-second closer. So last question from the audience. Anybody? Last question. There we go. You made it easy for me now.
Thank you. You've described the growth of businesses from nothing, and that's where you've come from. But now you are successful people. How are you preparing your families and the next generation to handle wealth and success and power that is so corrupting to us all?
That's for you, Rodica.
Thank you for questions. So I'm very happy that my vision when my kids was very small, and also the business was very in the beginning phase, I got this vision that our kids will continue what we do. Because it's so a blessing to can continue something. We started from zero, and our parents, because was in communist time, cannot transfer some experience. And this was the task that God gave me from many, many years ago, to transfer experience. Our kids studies business, marketing, finance, and they come back home, and all 3 kids, a boy, Mirel, Natalia, a girl, and Eusebio, another boy, are back in the company. Also, they are my daughters-in-law and also our son-in-law are working. And they are responsible for special departments, for special activities. We help them to grow and to can continue alone as soon as possible. But the transfer take some years. So we are happy to see our kids that are motivated. They also are have shares in the company, and they work daily with us.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. So 30-second closing from all of our panel speakers, and then afterwards we're going to take a break. We're going to let our host come in and tell us what we're to do. I think we have another session today, which is going to be again about the Romanian ecosystem. So you have an opportunity to ask some more questions. Let's start with Alan and then go around and end it with Daniel, your 30-second closer. So what do you want us to remember?
Well, I will add what Daniel said about discipling nations. I totally agree with that, and it's a great question. I would just want to emphasize that if we don't take time to disciple or to mentor 2, 3, 4 persons around us with a heart, with a real passion, and even our kids. Some of we are fathers or mothers, and sometimes we don't have time for our kids. So if we don't have time for our kids to be discipled, then I don't think we can have the faith of discipling great nations. It's like, you know, when your kid is coming and said, "Dad, I want to change the world." And to start saying, okay, first you make your bed every day, then we see about the world. You see? So this is how we start. Unfortunately, very few of us make time on purpose, in love, to mentor and disciple people around us. And then we dream about nations. If every one of us will do that, nations will be discipled. Jesus started like that. Why don't we take him as an example? We just take LinkedIn influencers as examples. It's Jesus. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Rodica, closing remarks?
Innovation and the correct vision can change a nation. And I think to promote innovation and God word, we need like a vehicle with 4 wheels. School, church, business environment, and also public institution. Maybe do you remember from that finance minister that traveled from Egypt to Jerusalem, and he was changed. He came with a new mentality. He got answer to their question and changed the mind. I think he was an influence in Egypt after that meeting with Philip. But keep in mind, as a metaphoric word, the 4-wheel vehicles. So for the nation to be changed, to be in another perspective, all these 4 wheels should turn in the same direction. School, church, business environment, and public institutions or politics. But to achieve this movement, we need agents of change, agents of God present in all these areas. And not be practicant Christians 1 day a week. All day, 7 days a week, we are missioners, and we need to change something in our workplace.
Amen. Thank you.
Don't forget the little ones and the most forgotten ones. When we take care of the most vulnerable people, God will multiply his blessing for us, and he will take care of our children too, and he will bring back the ones who are lost in our family also. So we are called to be blessed and to be a blessing for the others. Amen.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
From my side, as I mentioned, I start to believe that we do have a calling nationally and also internationally. But for us, it's been so encouraging and honoring that there is this, I would say, Barnabas spirit from some people in the West. And in my life, there were people in the corporation who believed in us and in the ministry. And I have to say, Malcolm and Kurt, when they were in Romania, for me, they were such a great encouragement to come and tell us that they believe that we can have a part, not just in doing things, but also in shaping things to come. So, to me, what's happening here is an expression of the unity in the body of Christ. And it's really so healing and encouraging when everybody plays a part, because I do believe together we can do so much more. And I just want to thank you for that. It's been inspiring for us and honoring that you came here, and very happy to be part of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So let me close with a story from the Old Testament. The servant of the Lord was about to die, Elisha, and he calls in the king of Israel. And he tells him, gives him a challenge, an open-ended challenge, and says, take a bow and arrows and start shooting arrows. And he shoots one arrow, he shoots a second arrow, and he shoots a third arrow, and he stops. And the servant of the Lord gets mad at him and says, why'd you stop? Why did you stop? You should have kept on going. If you would have done that about 6 or 7 times, you would have defeated the Syrians. You would have been victorious, but you stopped short. So my prayer for everybody, regardless where you are, in a large ministry, in a small ministry, in an easy environment or a difficult environment, keep on shooting those arrows. Let's give a round of applause to our panel. Thank you so much. And let's bring Josefina back.
Thanks very much, Professor Sebastian, and thank you all our panelists. It was such an enriching discussion. Now we have 1 hour break. You can drink some tea. And for all the Romanians and Moldovians in the room, we have one more free book, Doing Business with God by Hans Hammond, whom we have the honor to have with us today. So for the first of you who get the book, you might have the chance to have it signed by the author. At 5 a.m., we will come back here and we will have a great time of worship and testimonies about the ecosystems that transform nations here in Romania and Moldova. The book that I told you is about the history, essence, and approach of business as mission. Until 5 p.m., you can make new relations, connect with new people, find someone you don't know, and try to find their testimony, and drink some good coffee specialty that you have right in the corner. Enjoy your break.